Paul said to the Corinthians, I decided to know nothing among you except Jesus Christ and him crucified. That's all he decided to know, but he sure wrote a lot after that and said a lot. So following his lead, this week I decided to know nothing among you except Jesus Christ and him crucified. Jesus Christ and him crucified. This is the center of Jesus' salvation work, the core of our faith. The place where the rubber hits the road, the main event, the purpose of his life. So what does it mean again? In Bible studies this week, I've been in, and talking about Jesus Christ and him crucified, one thing we talked about was people's aversion to the gruesomeness of the event. Some believe that this is the reason why our attendance on Maundy, Thursday, and Good Friday is so poor. I mean, those 2 days are 2 of the biggest days in our faith, yet our attendance for worship services on those days is very poor. Some think it's because of that Jesus died a horrible, horrible death, and we can't bring ourselves to listen, to recall the retelling of that event. We don't want to think about the pain and suffering and gore that Jesus went through. Is it because of the gore? In a way, I can understand that. I don't know about you, but I have watched the John Wick trilogy, 1, 2, and 3. John Wick. It is a very, 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 very violent movie. Anybody here seen it? Did I mention very violent? I've watched 3 of them. I might watch them again. I watched Mel Gibson's Passion of the Christ, which was also violent. I will never watch that again. I can't take it. Maybe it's because I know John Wick movies are not real. They can't possibly be real. I know Jesus is real. I know his suffering and death was real. In one of my congregations, we had this old codger named Orlando. He was a really rough guy. Nothing bothered him. He would not and could not go to the church's Maundy, Thursday service because there was a tradition in that church every Maundy, Thursday that they would have a wooden cross and they would hammer nails into it in remembrance of Christ's crucifixion. But is it the gore that we don't like? Or is it the guilt? Is it the guilt because of our sin that Jesus was crucified and we don't want to face that responsibility? If we claim that Jesus is our Savior and he saved us and he was crucified to save us from sin, death, and the power of the devil or the power of evil, then he was crucified for us. Is that what Paul means when he says, I decided to know nothing except Jesus Christ and him crucified? One thing that I like to concentrate on in the crucifixion is the power and the ongoing effect of Jesus' act on the cross, on the crucifixion. In Jesus' words, it is finished. Not just his life. I mean, I know that those are part of the 7 last words of Jesus. But we're not just talking, when he says it is finished, he's not just talking about his life is finished, but accomplished. Mission accomplished. Jesus' mission is accomplished, and our mission has just begun. When Jesus was crucified, his mission was accomplished. Our mission just begun. When I was at another church, they always went to Bible camp. The confirmation program had a week at Bible camp. And that's something that Tina and I would like to either establish or reestablish here at First Lutheran. At this Bible camp, they had some really enthusiastic counselors. Training camp counselors, I think, is one of the great ministries of the church. For one thing, they become wonderful leaders, just like these Boy Scouts, wonderful leaders in their congregations for the rest of their lives. Not just as pastors, but as lay leaders that do the real work. You know, pastors really don't do anything. It's the lay leaders that do all the work. Anyway, these counselors had a lot of enthusiasm, but they had more enthusiasm than they had theological understanding. They spent the week trying to save our kids, our confirmation students. Now, our confirmation students were still growing in their faith, but they were baptized children of God. Christ had claimed them in their baptism. They didn't need to be saved. We could have better used that time helping them understand their response to that wonderful gift. Speaking of response, I don't know if you saw in the news, last spring there was a man in Ohio that went to a high school graduation for disadvantaged kids and got up there, and part of his speech he said, "And I'm guaranteeing each one of you students a college education." He was going to pay for it. It was going to cost him $3 million. And this week they did a follow-up on that, because one of the things he said was, when you tell people about what's just happened, I don't want you to tell anybody that this is a gift. This is not a gift. He says, this is my responsibility. Responsibility. Jesus Christ and him crucified, if nothing else, saves us like nothing else can. Jesus Christ and him crucified, if nothing else, saves us like nothing else can. Thanks be to God. When Paul says, "For I have decided to know nothing among you except Jesus Christ and him crucified," that might sound like a simple statement. It is the centerpiece of our faith, but is far from simple. Yet, when things get tough, and when even maybe your faith gets tough, and it's hard to believe, maybe remembering, knowing nothing else except Jesus Christ and him crucified, maybe that can get you back on track. Started with, "It is finished," and then get started. Start with "It is finished," and then get started. God bless you.